This
Rahul
conference will now be recorded.
to make Rahul sir as a presenter.
I think I have to wait for a minute or what?
Yes, sir, just a minute. Mr. Amit, are you there?
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Please make Rahul sir as a presenter. I think now you can share, sir. Now you can share your slide.
Okay, thank you. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir, we can see your slide, sir.
Okay, fine. So, good evening, everyone. Once again, this is my second class. As we have discussed about the molecular biology topics, what we are going to learn in this entire course, and this is our second class. In the first class, I have already given about brief introduction and what I am going to teach you all. So welcome you all again. Hope everyone is doing well and feeling well. So now I'm going to start the class. So today we are going to learn about what is molecular biology, and then we will discuss about scope of molecular biology, then brief history, how this development of molecular biology take place. Okay, then how it is related to other subjects, and then we will go through what is DNA and what are its constituents, how it is made up of, and um, different constituents nature, and how the polynucleotide forms. And then we will summarize the session today, and then we will in the next class we will go for the Chargaff's rules and Watson-Crick model, all this. Okay, so today we will go through what is molecular biology. Okay, so molecular biology, as a you will get a lot of broad definition, but I have summed up the definition and made by myself by uh, by combining all the definition which is given and you can get on the internet. So molecular biology is the interdisciplinary area of biology which is concerned with chemical composition, structure, function, and interaction of biomolecules, basically nucleic acid, which is a DNA or RNA, and proteins to carry out the most important fundamental processes, which is we call as a central dogma of life, which is which contains replication, transcription, and translation. Okay, or simply in small we can say that it is the field of biology that helps to study the structure and interaction of DNA, RNA, and protein at the molecular level. Now, molecular biology usually come from the background of genetics and biochemistry. So further, it overlaps with many other interdisciplinary area of subject of biology, such as immunology, biochemistry, as I told you, genetics, biophysics, cancer biology, microbiology, and even now it has been included in bioinformatics and biotechnology, and uh, bioprocessing, pharmacology. There are a lot of sub-subject has been developed, and in on all the field you need molecular biology somehow. So now this era of molecular biology started from 1930s. Okay, and the father of molecular biology uh, is considered to be a Linus Pauling, which have his work was he have derived the chemical structure of the protein and protein interactions, and he have sequenced the protein interactions things. And the modern molecular biology, father of modern molecular biology, is Fred Sanger. He is also worked in the protein sequencing and many other. Okay, now we will go through a brief history how molecular biology um, came into the light. Okay, first Charles Darwin in 1859 published about the origin of species, but how this species getting evolutionized, or how these species are separating or different from each other, he was not knowing on that time. He was just thinking that okay, it's a natural phenomenon, but what is the mechanism behind, he was not knowing in that period of time. So it was in the evolution period. Now it came to 1865 when Gregor Mendel, he was the he's called as the father of genetics also. He have done study in genetics, how the chromosomes segregate, independent assessment, and principle of, he has given principle of segregation. Then in 1869 the DNA was isolated. First, the DNA was isolated by Friedrich Mister. Okay. Then in 1900, in 1900, then this Carl Corrins, Erich von Tesmark, Hugo de Vries, all these confirm the principles of Mendel. See, science is always a controversial thing. So when Mendel was giving his hypothesis about this segregation, principle of segregation and an assortment, how, so on that time all he was not believed. So he was not believed, and the further experiment has to be carried out by these three scientists, and they rediscovered the Mendel's principles, and they confirmed that no, it's correct. Okay, then in 1902, Garrod, he suggested that the disease, human disease, is basically due to the genetic. Maybe it's a genetic cause. Maybe due to the heredity, or maybe due to the cause of DNA. Okay. Then Walter Sutton, Boveri. Then in 1902, they have given the most important theory, which is known as chromosome theory. Okay. Then in 1910 to 1916, Morgan, okay, and Bridges, Thomas Morgan, he is basically uh, famous for uh, genes, functions of genes on chromosomes. So how it works, he usually worked on Drosophila. So he have given that genes are present on the chromosomes. Now in 1913, Sturtevant constructed a genetic map, okay, physical genetic map by himself, by studying the pattern of how the genes are present on the chromosome and how it works. But in 1927, Muller has shown that mutation can be caused on the DNA by X-rays. Okay. Then in 1931, Barbara McClintock, again she was the pioneer scientist who have discovered the process of recombination. Okay. Then in 1941, George Biddle, E.L. Tatum given the most important theory, which is known as one enzyme hypothesis. Okay. Then in 1944, now from I told you the era begins from 1930, which has been started by Barbara McClintock. Okay, when she discovered the recombination process is going on that time, the the era of molecular biology begins. Before that, it was the era of genetics. Okay, now in 1944, now that's how scientists began that okay, DNA is there, RNA is there, protein is there. Then which is the genetic material? Each one is correlated with each other, but which one, if the organism will not have DNA, what will happen? If RNA, what will happen? If protein, what will happen? So now which one is the genetic material? The search begins. So now in 1944, Avery, MacLeod, McCarthy, all these three pioneer scientists found that DNA is the genetic material by using a transformation. Then there are more scientists who who further experimented this hypothesis, like Hersey and Chase. They also experimented with the help of radiolabeled bacteriophage and found that no, genetic DNA is the only genetic material. Okay. Then in 1953, James Watson, Francis Crick, and Rosalind Franklin, Maurice Wilkins. Okay, all the three people, all these four people came and given the structure of DNA. Okay, how the DNA was arrived. If you'll go through a history, okay, you will find how Crick and Watson came to the conclusion that the DNA structures are there are two double helix, two polynucleotide which are attached to each other by hydrogen bond, and how these hydrogen bond are arranged in it is inside or outside. There is very nice interesting story is there in behind this. Okay. So if you'll go through this history, you will find more interested about this molecular biology subject. Then in 1958, Stahl and Messelson has given a very it's a that the how DNA gets replicated. It's replicated in the semi-conservative way. There are few more theories which gives that the DNA is being segregated by a conservative process, semi-conservative basis, or dispersive process. But finally, the scientists have accepted no, the DNA is being segregated by a replicated by a semi-conservative process. Okay. Now, then in Francis Jacob, Matthew Messelson again, and Sidney Brenner in 1961 discovered messenger RNA, mRNA. Okay, then Nirenberg, Khurana, Hargobind Khurana, who have revealed the genetic code. Okay, now the genetic code is the codon consists of triplet, right? So this was recognized by Khorana and Nirenberg, and they have given the triplet codon theory. Okay, then in 1970, Hamilton Smith discovered the restriction enzyme, and this brought an era of recombinant DNA technology, and then DNA cloning and all these things started. 1972, Paul Berg, he also one of the he considered as the one of the father of the recombinant DNA technology. He has experimented in vitro of this DNA cloning and all that. Then in 1973, Herb Boyer, Stanley Cohen first used a plasmid, which acts as a vector, and they clone the DNA. Now in 1977, Frederick Sanger, Frederick Sanger, I told you, he worked on determining the sequences of protein, but he also found that he also found the Sanger method, which is used for getting the sequence of DNA, and then he has sequenced the whole genome of the virus, okay, which is called as phage virus Ac174, and in 1977. In 1977, again, the Philip Saab, Richard Robert, and other discovered introns. Okay, genes are made up of exon and introns. Then on that time, they discovered about introns. Okay, the genes are not only consist of only exons, but it has a part of intron. Okay, now in 1933, Victor Ambros and their colleagues discovered another type of RNA, which is called as interference RNA, microRNA. They decreases, what is this? They found that, okay, this microRNA, this interference RNA, decrease the gene expression by base pairing with the normal mRNA. Okay, now in 1995, Craig Venter, Hamilton Smith, all they have sequenced the whole genome of many organisms, okay, such as bacteria, two bacteria, Haemophilus and Mycoplasma, okay, Haemophilus influenza. And the first genome they are the first organism whose genomes has been sequenced and published online. Now in 1996, then the sequence of the yeast has been sequenced. Then many other organism has been sequenced, continuously rat, dog, sheep. Then the era of sequencing begins, and finally now we can do the whole genome sequence of humans, right, primates. So it's very challenging work for the scientists on that time, but now it is very easy. You spend just $1,000, you will get your sequencing of your DNA, whole sequence of the DNA. Okay, so now in 1997, again, the cloning, I told you the recombinant DNA technology started the era on 1970. Finally, in 1997, they first cloned a sheep called as Dolly sheep from an adult sheep. Okay, they have cloned this. This period was also very controversial because it was done using embryo. So embryo, if you are doing in the embryo, so you have to face a problem. So government has stopped the experiments doing in embryo nowadays. Okay, because there are a lot of ethical issues and lot of you can say people, NGOs are there who used to fight against this process. So okay, so now 1998, Andrew Fire and colleagues discovered the interference RNA that degrades the mRNA, okay, by invading the double stranded RNA, forms the interference RNA. It forms what? It forms base pairing with normal RNA, and signals that this RNA has to be this RNA interference technology came, and the founder was the Andrew Fire in 1998. Now in 2003, human genome was completely sequenced and finally published in 2003. And then in 2005, the rough draft means they have sequenced, but the raw data, it has been published. They have sequenced the genome of the chimpanzee and relative species around 2005, and they put that raw data in online. Okay, now in 2007, Craig Venter uses traditional method to sequence its first sequence of an individual human. Okay, Craig Venter was also one of the scientists present which participated in Human Genome Project, which was started by US government. Okay, and Craig Venter was a scientist in some private company. Okay, so now in 2008, Jian Wang, another one of the pioneer scientists, he discovered the next generation sequencing and sequenced the genome of Asian person. And this next generation sequencing has brought a new era to this molecular biology field, because now sequencing can be does not have to take a whole month or whole year. It can be done on one day basis. Okay, now because of the next generation sequencing. Okay, now in 2008 again, David Bentley and colleagues sequenced the first sequence of an African human and submitted this online. Then the golden era came after 1990s. That for Francisco and Mizka discovered CRISPR in 90s, but it was not known. It was known that okay, it is present on the bacteria, but the function was not known completely. But this Francisco have discovered on that time while studying about the jumping genes. Okay, so then in 2012, finally, Jennifer Doudna, who is called as mother of CRISPR, and Emanuela Charpentier, both demonstrated that this technology, this CRISPR technology, can be used as a genome editing, and this was the biggest discovery of the century. There are more genome editing tool has been discovered in 2003, like zinc finger nucleases, TALENs, but the golden era came when CRISPR has been discovered, because the limitations and off targets of genome editing was less in by comparing the other methods in CRISPR. So now, what is the scope of molecular biology? See, I have already told that it's a broad field and it overlaps with lot of subjects. So, but so you can say that it has a broad spectrum of scope also, because this you will need like you have to the forensic science. In forensic science, you will need like DNA fingerprinting, and while studying toxicology of the compound, what is the molecular mechanism behind this the drug, how it stops certain proteins, or it transcription of some gene. Then population genetics, all because this molecular biology is completely related with the genetics. Then biochemistry, the pathways, how these pathways are getting disturbed by certain by the changes of some proteins or DNA or some transcription factors. Okay, so all these are completely dependent on molecular biology. So we can say it tells the world's future, okay, that what life is, by knowing the molecular mechanism of the process, the fundamental processes. Okay, now in modern molecular biology, the bioinformatics part is also being included. Then in medical sciences, you can use medical science also use these molecular biology techniques, molecular biology knowledge. So all these make the molecular biology a broad scope to get into some important, or you can say that very informative class of jobs, like like if you will go for cancer biology research, or for immunological disease, then neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer. So all these things completely correlated with the molecular biology. Okay. As I told you, this molecular biology is completely overlaps with the subjects like biotechnology, pharmacology, cancer biology, genetics, forensic science. So this the people must take interest molecular biology, because somehow you have to read, if you are taking any of the courses, so molecular biology, you have to make the base of the molecular biology very strong. Okay. Even if you go for any pathological lab for a job, or any pharmacology company job, they will ask you about molecular techniques. Basically molecular technique, it is very compulsory. So you have to learn the subject very well, and you have to set your hand, means your practical knowledge must also be very good, and you must be very expert in this molecular biology techniques. Now the next, we will go through what is DNA. So all we know that DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It is the hereditary material which is present in all organisms, even in humans, right? So nearly each and every person have the DNA in each and every cells. The same DNA will be present in each and every cell, but the different that there will be 1% differences. If you'll compare the DNA of one person to another, there will be 1% difference in the sequence of the DNA. So now, however, see, DNA is the hereditary unit. It means what? It goes from one generation to other, uh, along to the through a offspring, right? It gets transmitted from one person to another, and ensures a certain level of continuity, okay, from one generation to another. There is a slight, if there is a slight change, that 1% change causes a diversity. Okay. And this diversity is very helpful, but sometimes it also a non-beneficial. It may cause some disease if too much diversity occurs in the genome. Okay. So it must be consistent. The transmission of the DNA, the constant of the DNA which came from ancestor, it must be consistent. Okay. Not too much diverse, right? So we came to know what is DNA. Now we will know how the constituents of the DNA and RNA. The DNA and RNA, we know it is called as nucleic acid. Okay, the nucleic acid was discovered by Friedrich Schmidt. I told you he have isolated the DNA from isolated the DNA from pus. Okay, pus, and he named it as a nuclein, but later on it has been called as nucleic acid. Okay. Now this nucleic acid, also called as polynucleotide, which means that it is made up of monomeric units of nucleotide. And polynucleotide means what? The nucleotides, the single nucleotides, are combined together and form a polynucleotide, right? So nucleotides, what is nucleotide then? The nucleotides are organic compounds. Okay, are organic compounds, or you can say a biomolecule which is present on our cells, and it is it is also known as phosphoesters of nucleosides. Okay, phosphoesters of nucleoside means nucleosides. You will go one by one, that how nucleosides formed, what are the constituents of nucleoside. But the meaning of phosphoesters of nucleoside means that nucleosides are being esterified with phosphate group. Okay, so now nucleotides mainly composed of three components, that is a nitrogen base, which usually are of two types, purine and pyrimidine, and then it has a pentose sugar, which is a 5 carbon sugar, and then it has phosphate group, and it is also known as ion of phosphoric acid. Okay, so now these nucleotides, we know that it is the constituents of DNA, RNA, but it has several other functions in our cells, in our cells, right? So nucleotides, how it is served, it is served as several cofactors like coenzyme A, FAD, okay, then NAD, NAD plus, NADP plus, NADH. All these are made up of what? Nucleotide. And what they does, it acts as a cofactor and carrying out the several cellular signaling and signaling processes and metabolic processes, right? Now it also serves as a energy storage. We know that ATP is the source of energy, and we also know that uh, GTP also gives energy in the process of translation. It can be used also energy source. Now another important or vital role is that it also acts as a second messenger for signal transduction process like cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP. Okay, so now we'll go through that the constituents of nucleotide one by one. That the first constituent is the nitrogenous base. It is the nitrogen base, you can see in the right side, that it is of two types, purine and pyrimidine. Okay, and these all both the structures, by seeing, you can see in the right side that both the structures are heterocyclic. Heterocyclic means it is made up of uh, cyclic, two different cyclic structure. One is hexane type, hexa structure, and one is penta structure, right? In purine and pyrimidine, it is made up of hexa structure. So it's a heterocyclic planar structure, means it will keep on the paper, it will be just look like a paper. Okay, it will be flat. Okay, there will be no puckering type of issues. Okay, aromatic, and it is an aromatic compound, or you can say also a organic compound, but it is relatively insoluble in water. Somehow it is soluble, but relatively it is insoluble in water. Okay, it is of two types. I told it is of two types present. These two types usually present on DNA and RNA. Okay, but the differences is that in DNA, um, thymine is present, but in RNA, uracil is present, right? So now this purine, you can see that the structures, it's a two-ring structure. Okay, uh, and has 4 nitrogen atom. And the figure you can see in the left side, uh, it has 4 nitrogen atom. See the numbering, you can see in the right side that nitrogen is present on the uh, one number, then in third number, and then in ninth number, and in seventh number, right? And in the same, likewise, you can see in pyrimidine, it is a 6-ring nitrogenous compound. Okay, and the 2 nitrogen atoms are present in 1 position and 3 position. Okay, this numbering is usually done according to a functional group uh, uh, given by the IUPAC system. You can go through the nomenclature by IUPAC. how this numbering is given to this cyclic compound. You can find these videos present in YouTube. Okay, now these purines are of two types. Okay, purines are of two types, that is guanine and adenine. Okay, and then pyrimidines are of three types. Usually in DNA, it is cytosine and thymine is present, but in case of RNA, this uracil is present instead of thymine. Okay, so I think you people can see this figure, and you can see the clear picture how these two nitrogen bases are different from each other. Okay, now sugar. Okay, sugar, it is another you can say it is another part of nucleotide, another molecule which is being formed, which is formed by binding to a nitrogen base. The sugars usually present in the nucleoside is pentose sugar, means it is a ribose sugar. Okay, usually ribose you can see in the figure which is present on the right side, that the ribose sugar. Okay, it is a ribose sugar moiety as a pentose sugar, and in the left side you can see deoxyribose also there. What is that mean? That in RNA there is the carbon 2. Okay, C2 has hydroxyl group. Okay, it has hydroxyl group, it's C2, but in DNA that hydroxyl group is not there, oxygen is not there, there is a deficiency of one oxygen atom. Okay, this is the difference difference with in the sugar moiety which is present in the DNA and RNA. So in DNA, deoxyribose is there because oxygen is not there in carbon at the position of carbon 2. Okay, while in RNA, in case of RNA, ribose is there where hydroxyl group is present. Now these differences in the present in oxygen atom makes this DNA and RNA susceptible to alkali. Okay, and this RNA is you can say is more protected in presence of alkali, but deoxyribose it is not susceptible to your alkali. It will in alkaline condition it gets denatured, but in RNA ribose it does not get denatured because of hydroxyl group present on the sugar moiety. Okay, so now the third sorry. Okay, the third component is the formation of nucleoside. The nucleoside is formed by the by a formation of beta and glycosidic bond between the anomeric carbon of the ribose and N9 nitrogen 9 of purine and N1 of pyrimidine. You can see in the figure left side. Okay, the circle dotted part. Okay, the anomeric carbon of sugar, the carbon 1 is linked with the nitrogen base of this adenine at 9th position. Okay, forming a beta glycosidic bond. The same way that is in case of purine, and in the case of pyrimidine you can see that the N1 position of pyrimidine is linked with the anomeric carbon 1 and form a beta glycosidic bond. Okay, this nucleoside term, the nucleoside usually contains the sugar and nitrogen base linked by a glycosidic bond. Okay, The term nucleoside was coined by Levin and Jacob in 1901 to denote the carbohydrate derivative of the purine bases, which is been isolated from the yeast by hydrolyzing the nucleic acid. Okay, means DNA. Now, the most important constituents of nucleotide is the repeating part of the which causes the repeating part of the DNA backbone is the phosphate group, the presence of phosphate group. Okay, the phosphate group is attached to the sugar molecule, which is present on the 5' end of the ribose. The hydroxyl group you can see in the figure right side, that once in down, that the sugar moiety having a 5' where is 5' carbon, okay, having a hydroxyl group, right? This hydroxyl group forms a phosphodiester bond with this phosphate ions, and the phosphate group is being attached. Okay, and now you can see the nitrogen base is being attached with sugar, with a glycosidic bond, and sugar is attached with the phosphate group, okay, with the phosphodiester bond, and the whole molecule is now called as a nucleotide. Okay, and this nucleotide is further forms a polynucleotide, which we'll see in the next slide. Okay, see now the formation of polynucleotides. Okay, so now what is polynucleotide? Polynucleotides, as I told you, it is formed by the attachment of monomeric unit of nucleotide. Now how it is formed? It is formed due to the condensation process between two or more nucleotides. The condensation is usually occurs between the alcohol group of a 5' phosphate, okay, of one nucleotide, and the 3' hydroxyl group of a second nucleotide with the elimination of water, forming a phosphodiester bond. You can see in the figure at the right side that the ribose sugar having at carbon 3, okay, having a phosphate group which attacks the another nucleotide, okay, nucleotide, that 5' carbon, and forms a 5 to 3' phosphodiester bond, or you can say a 5 to 3' phosphodiester bond. Now this 5 to 3', the formation of phosphodiester bond, it gives a directionality, right? Because it is being linked with 5 to 3'. Okay, the phosphodiester bond is been formed because of the carbon 3 and carbon 5 and the phosphate group. Okay, so it gives a directionality to the structures of the structure DNA and RNA. Okay, in this way the several nucleotides are being attached and form 5' and 3' end. You can see in the figure ATGCA having a 5' end and 3' end. If another nucleotide wants to come, then it will attack the 3' end, okay, 3' end, and then again it will form a phosphodiester bond and another nucleotide will get attached. Okay, now you will ask, like, why this 5' end is not attacking the other nucleotide? Because this 5' end will have the first nucleotide always comes in the DNA with 3 phosphate group, alpha, beta, and gamma, and this alpha, beta, gamma requires energy, okay, to carry out the further linkage process. But the 3' end having a hydroxyl group does not require any energy and can easily form the phosphodiester bond and can link with other nucleotide. So that's the reason the 5' end of the first nucleotide which has been present in the DNA, it does cannot link with the other nucleotide. Okay, the attack will always be in the 5 prime to 3 prime direction, that is at the end of the 3 prime hydroxyl group. Okay, I think this is clear to you all. Now you can see now you know that okay, these polynucleotides are formed because of the attachment of monomeric unit of nucleotide. Okay, this arrangement of monomeric unit of nucleotide, suppose A, G, T, C, these forms a primary structure. This arrangement is a basal and primary structure, but the secondary structure is called as a three-dimensional formation, or three-dimensional means it must be arranged in three-dimensional form. This polynucleotide strand, and this three-dimensional structure of the polynucleotide will be obtained when two polynucleotides, okay, when two polynucleotides will come closer and get attached with a hydrogen bond which is formed between the two bases. Okay, usually between the two bases, that A bonded with T, that forms a two hydrogen bond is formed between A and T, I mean adenine and thymine, and G bonded to C forms a three hydrogen bond, and this makes a three-dimensional double helix structure, and then the DNA is being formed. Okay, in this way, this polynucleotide, one polynucleotide strand attaches with the second polynucleotide with the help of hydrogen bond formed between the bases. You can see in the figure at the right side, you can see adenine and thymine. This the backbone is phosphate, sugar phosphate backbone is there. Okay, the nitrogen bases are inside the this sugar phosphate backbone, and it is linked, the two strands are being linked with the hydrogen bond. This blue dotted lines which is present between the bases, this formed a hydrogen bond. Okay, there is the adenine and thymine having two hydrogen bond, and cytosine and guanine having a three hydrogen bond. So in this way they makes a sugar phosphate backbone, and inside the nitrogen base formed hydrogen bond, and then finally it forms a double helical twisted structure, which you can see in the right side, and create minor groove, major groove, and there is a fixed distance that is having a pitch, diameter, and all that. So all these things we will go through on the next class. That is, we will learn about Chargaff's rule. Okay, what Chargaff's rule tells, and then we will learn about the features of DNA and how the features of DNA which is given by Watson and Crick, and then we will learn about different forms of DNA. Okay, different types of DNA present in the cells, and when it is present, A form is when we can A form of DNA when it is present, in which cells it is present. B form of DNA, usually we have B form of DNA usually. Okay, and then C form of DNA is there, D form of DNA is there. So we will learn these things in the next class. Okay, so now I will summarize the today class. Okay, so what we have learned today, that what is molecular biology? That molecular biology is the study of structure and interaction of DNA, RNA, and protein at the molecular level. Okay, then second we have learned that what is DNA. DNA is the genetic material, hereditary genetic material, which passes from one generation to another, and it makes a consistent phenotypic, gives the phenotypic character and genetic character. Okay, nearly each and every cell has in our body has the same DNA. Okay, now what is nucleic acid? So DNA, RNA is called as nucleic acid. Okay, both of these nucleic acid form are also called as polynucleotides, and these polynucleotides is made up of nucleoside, are made up of nucleotides, and these nucleotides having a 3 component, which is called nitrogen base and sugar, which when nitrogen and sugar attaches with each other with a glycosidic bond, it forms a nucleoside, and when this nucleoside attaches with the phosphate group, it forms a nucleotide, and these nucleotides are then attaches with another nucleotide by a phosphodiester bond in 5' to 3' direction, and forms a polynucleotide chain, polynucleotide strand or chain, and this polynucleotide chain then attaches with other polynucleotide chain and forms a double helical structure in case of DNA, and in case of RNA there is no double helical structure, but secondary form of RNA is there, which in somehow it gives some function, or it is being used as a, like a hairpin structure is being used as a termination of the transcription process. So that type of secondary structure you can see in case of RNA, but in case of DNA, this the two polynucleotide chain are being attached with each other with the help of hydrogen bond and forms double helical structure, which is called as DNA, and we are completely dependent on this DNA, and we are surviving because of this DNA, because it has all the information stored in it, what type of protein it has to be, what type of signal it has to be, or which cell has to die, which cell has not to die. Okay, all this information is present on the DNA. So, and this DNA is the main part of this molecular biology. Okay, so thank you for today. The class ends here, so I wrap up for today. Hope you people understand everything. If you have any doubt, now you can unmute and ask.
Thank you, sir, for this informative session. I hope it really helps students to gain knowledge and get benefited. So I request students, if you have any queries, you can post in the comment section. You can post in the chat box.
My voice was clear, right?
Yes, sir. Your voice was clear, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Excuse me. So, students, if you have any question or doubt, please ask. I'm ready to take the question.
If you have any queries, you can ask in the comment section. I am going to read your question with your name. According to your question, sir will reply. Feel free to ask the questions regarding session, regarding DNA, RNA, phosphodiester bond, nucleic acid, everything. Sir have already covered the every aspect of today's session. If you feel any queries, you can ask right now.
So I will ask, student, have you understood? If you have understood everything, just write yes on the comment section, please.
If you have understood the every aspect of today's session, please just comment yes in the comment section. Oh, thank you. Already students are commenting. Thank you for your support. I hope you all have understood today's session. If you
didn't understand anything, then I have given the mail. Okay, you just mail me. I will answer all that questions to the next class. I will try to cover all your queries in the next class. Okay, no problem in that. So no one is having doubt, right?
Student is asking
Okay.
why.
Yeah.
Jivang Anirudh is asking why only polynucleotides will form the double helix. What type of character makes it possible to form double helix?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sivangi. I will answer you this question. See, usually what happens in case of polynucleotide. See, the polynucleotide is the arrangement of nucleotide, okay, in which one end is free, uh, that is one end is completely free, that is 3' hydroxyl group, okay, and the other end having a cap like structure, you can say that 5' having a phosphate 3 phosphate group, okay. Now when this polynucleotide come close to each other, okay, the nitrogen bases which are present on the this one strand of polynucleotide. See, this nitrogen bases has a capacity of rotation, okay. It can freely rotate due to the presence of glycosidic bond, okay. And this rotation, what it does, it when it comes close to another polynucleotide, this rotation starts making, or you can say you start checking their compatibility, okay, with the bases, nitrogen bases, so that A can only form double bond with T, and this conformation, this nitrogen base arrangement helps to form this double helix structure, okay. And even this sugars also have, yeah, um, I will upload one video to my YouTube channel about sugar puckering is what, in which the sugar bonds are not planar. The sugar moiety, that is ribose, is not planar, it is non-planar, and this non-planar helps this arrangement of double helical structure. Further, it makes more, you can say, more compact. The structures are become more compact and stable, okay. So all these features of this polynucleotide makes the double helix structure. I think you are clear, right? Jivange, okay.
She is
Another
asking
question.
one more question. Why is
Yeah,
RNA not
why?
forming double-stranded structure as it only differed with on C2 positions hydroxyl group?
Okay. See, not only it differs in the C2 position of hydroxyl group, okay, their uracil is present in case of thiamine, which does not allow the formation of double helical structure further, okay. That is one of the theory, and the another theory is that the hydroxyl group which is present on the carbon 2, okay, okay, the present on the carbon 2 position, okay, the bond which is formed, okay, it is formed in the phosphodiester bond is formed because of this, because in the carbon 2 position or carbon 3 position in case of RNA, but in case of DNA it is only formed between the it is formed between the carbon 3, not in the carbon 2. So that's why it does not able to make this double helical, means polynucleotide, means double helical structure, because uh, the polynucleotide formed by the ribose sugar is completely different from the polynucleotide formed by the DNA, okay. There is some hindrance in the rotation of the nitrogen base, and the formation of further this phosphodiester bond is completely different. I think you are clear, Jivange.
I hope sir cleared your doubt, and she
I
is
will
saying
see.
thank you. I am satisfied with your answer.
Okay, okay, Jivangia. One more thing. I will. The question was very good. So if I get more information, so this is traditional information. I think one paper came which completely differentiates this features. Why this? Whatever question you have asked, the similar the answer was given in one paper. I will go through it, and I will give you the more deeper answer on the next class. Okay.
So
Any other
I
question
request
from
every
anyone?
so I request everyone, if you have any queries, you can ask, and please fill the attendance form. Jivangi Anirudh is our very old student. She is connected with since we have started these online classes and e-lab trainings. She has requested to start when we provide online trainings, e-lab programs. She is connected with that time itself with us. So I request every student, those who attend, please fill the attendance form and be regular. We have regular attendees: Jivangi Anirudh, Kasika, Preeti Kumari, Sakshi Priya. They are our, and those who joined today, those who registered today, please be regular. It's my humble request to you, and attend every class. So I hope you all have filled the attendance form. Those who have not filled the attendance form, please fill it. And those who have filled the form, please you may leave the meeting, and no one is allowed to go without filling the form. Thank you, Rahul sir, for this wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone for attending the class, and hope we will meet on the next class. Okay, next Tuesday. Please read the topic after this session. Whenever you feel time, you just go through whatever I taught. It will be revision for you, and you will remember for a long time, and prepare your question for the next class. Okay, thank you. So take care
Thank you, sir.
and be safe.
Thank you. I request everyone to please fill the attendance form. We will guide you in proper guidance with your competitive exams, with your doubts, clearance. Everyone, just be connected with us. Deepanita C, Deepanvita Seth, Jancy CS, Jaya Baudry, Jaya Murugan, Kavin, Priti, Priyanka Stephen Mukhia, Ritu Parna Chaudhary, Sakshi, Sayali, Sudhir Sirkar. I request everyone to be connected with us, and request to everyone, please attend every class. And tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we have classes on genetics and microbiology. So hope you have filled attendance form. I request our organizer, Mr. Amit, to please stop the program now.
Yeah, Amit. Amit, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, please stop the program. I think it is over. All are filling the attendance form.
Okay.